Texas A&M is now the only SEC team since 2004 to have a 27-point comeback win. Crazy. That right there is all I really needed to say. I could have ended the video right there because that is stunning. That is phenomenal. And that is also an indictment on South Carolina for being able to blow a 4-score, 27-point lead at halftime. No ability to game control, no ability to, put the game away, to play at the same level you did in the first half, to make the explosive play. You were shut out in the second half by an A&M defense that, let's face it, is good, but is not great, is nowhere near the top defenses of the sport, of the SEC, of the Big Ten. It's far inferior to even Texas Tech's. It isn't even better than Miami's. A&M didn't even run the football all that particularly well. Even if you take out the sacks, they didn't average 4 yards per carry. South Carolina had some decent runs, but as the game went on, A&M was able to rack up 4 sacks, 10 TFLs. Marcel Reed actually had a good game after that first half. Lenora Sellers, once again, Nick Harbor and his track speed merchant. That's what he is. Like, Nick Harbor's good for 1 deep pass a game, but outside of that, he's not really anything special. South Carolina just hasn't really developed him into being a great receiver. A&M, meanwhile, has. And A&M, entering this game, they looked sleepy. They looked very uninterested. I don't think they took this game seriously. I thought they could come in here and just get a win, and they were a bit lackadaisical after that Missouri win. And man, oh man, they came out and they were flying in that second half. I imagine that Mike Elko speech at halftime was fiery and full of anger and frustration and holding his players accountable, and the players probably doing the same thing back to him. That's what the great teams, that's what the great cultures do. I will say, and this will upset some Aggie fans, but I got to be honest here. I don't think A&M can win it all this year. Now, if they go on the road and they pounce on Texas and they decapitate them like Georgia did, they'll re-enter that conversation. If they win the SEC championship game, they'll re-enter the conversation. But as of right now, like, giving up 30 points to South Carolina in that fashion, allowing South Carolina to have almost 400 total yards of offense, when I don't think they've ever surpassed that this year. I don't think they've ever had a game up until that one where they surpassed like 300 total yards in offense. Let me check the Ole Miss game. They may have had that there, but no, they didn't. This was their best offensive game of the year. A&M's defense is lacking. Their passing offense is a bit too inconsistent. Look, winning this game with -3 turnovers, with a 27 halftime deficit, 27-point halftime deficit, and being able to win the line of scrimmage, convert your 4th downs, and win with 2 out of 11 on 3rd down that's impressive. A&M's a great team. I don't think they're a national championship contender, but keep in mind, A&M has not been in this position ever in the SEC. They've never started out 10-0. They're going to beat Samford and go to 11-0. They've never had an 11-1 regular season. And with Notre Dame on the non-con schedule, with, playing a Missouri team who's going to have a winning record, playing a Texas team who's going to have a winning record, beating LSU so hard their coach got fired. It's been an impressive season for Mike Elko. And I do think this is a team that can re-enter that national title conversation depending on how they finish out the year and also what their bracket looks like. To show you how crazy this game was, let me show you some numbers, starting with the quarterback. But then we'll get into some more things. Reed only completed 56.4% of his passes. He had a 166.1 passer rating despite that, which means he missed a lot of throws, but when he hit throws, they were big. They had long passes of 43, 76, 27, and 24. They were able to hit plenty of explosives here. A&M was. Ashton Bethel Roman, Isaiah Williams and Nate Borkature all had receiving touchdowns. Marcel Reed himself was able to scramble for a long of 16. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. And earlier in the game, he was so bad. He was throwing passes to defenders. He was throwing passes, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards away from his intended target. He looked disoriented, disorganized, confused, off, almost didn't look healthy. And in that second half, he's just clicking and playing his best football. His Heisman odds rose after that, which to agree with the cynical Ohio State fans, the lunatic fringes they call themselves, it is kind of pretty ridiculous. I can see some merit in it given how good the second half performance was. It was better than Mendoza's at Penn State, for example, and the comeback was more impressive, but he also helped put his team in that hole. And if he played in this game like he did against LSU or Missouri, they're never down 27 points at half. So a little bit ridiculous there, guys. Like, I think the award should go to Jeremiah Smith. If not, it should probably go to one of, Sayin or Mendoza. If it doesn't go to them at quarterback, it should honestly go to Gunnar Stockton. Like, Stockton's played incredibly well, made great plays on his own even outside of the system, which is already a good one under Mike Bobo. But Reed performed well in that second half. There's a reason he finished with a 79.8 QBR. He basically played perfect in the third and fourth quarter. He's 13th in QBR this year. He has a 156.9 passer rating. He's improved in every way from where he was last year. Now let's get into some crazy stuff. I know Lenoris Sellers, he made some good plays, but overall, he's just not developed in the way that I thought he would, and he doesn't have a supporting cast. Let's look at the Texas A&M first half drive chart. So, first play, or first not play, but first drive, they start on their own 25, they get a field goal. Then they have another drive, field goal miss. They fumble, that South Carolina recovers. Then they punt again, they punt again, they miss another field goal, they throw a pick in the end zone, and they throw another interception. They spotted on those 3 turnovers, they spotted South Carolina a grand total of 17 points. South Carolina had the touchdown from the fumble return. That was a Nick Barrett fumble return forced by Dylan Stewart. They have the 80-yard passing touchdown before half. That was from the interception. And they had a field goal by William Joyce from the final interception. They spotted them literally 17 points. If not for those turnovers, A&M's probably tied at half, maybe even leading. And that is where the great Chip Patterson from the Cover 3 podcast was wise to still doubt South Carolina. He said that, well, he didn't trust in South Carolina. Even with that 27-point lead at the half, he just didn't trust him. And a lot of that was because of how they've played this year and the fact that they have talent limitations. They are very limited both offensively and defensively. It's essentially a roster that is composed of Lenoris Sellers, Dylan Stewart, Brandon Sissy, maybe Nick Harbor if he's playing well, and that's it. It's not a very talented roster. A lot of flukish things went in the way of South Carolina. A&M looked pretty terrible, and then you see that second half drive chart where first drive in the second half from their own 25, touchdown. 8 plays, 80 yards. Next drive from their own 30, 7 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. They're averaging through 2 drives, 10 yards per play. Then you got 2 plays, 90 yards, touchdown from their own 20. From their own 10 plays, 96 yards, touchdown. Then they get the ball and they drive, but they fumble. And that was not good. No bueno there. But to have 4 drives in a row for touchdowns, and all of them were long drives. One was a 99-yard drive. That was impressive. And then for the defense to put up the effort they did in the second half to shut out South Carolina to get the game-winning stop. What an effort by Mike Elko, the defensive play caller, the head coach, by Colin Klein, the offensive coordinator, by Marcel Reed to be mentally tough enough to rebound from that. A&M is, I cannot describe enough how significantly better they are than South Carolina. For South Carolina, your season's over. Even if you win out and beat a Clemson team who's mediocre and a bad Coastal Carolina team, the season's a failure. You had your worst record in SEC play under Shane Beamer. I know your schedule was tough, but Vandy's talent limited. Mizzou is Mizzou. LSU's not really good. It was a tough schedule, yes, but you could have gotten more out of it with some of the players you had in your roster. There is a reason this roster is as talentless as it is. That's on the staff. They've recruited well enough to perform at a higher level than this. And it's not a guarantee that they win out. They could lose to Clemson. They could even lose to Coastal with how anemic their offense has been at times this season. For A&M, how do I put this? As I mentioned earlier, after that game, I don't quite think they can win it all. I've removed them from that conversation, but man, they are so good. They're tough. They're well coached. They're never out of it. You got to cut the head off the snake to beat them. Not in the same way as Georgia, because Georgia's better overall, but Notre Dame failed to do it with a blocked punt. Auburn couldn't do it. Arkansas couldn't do it. LSU led them at the half, then they got blown out. Missouri, that game was never in doubt. And South Carolina failed to cut the head off the snake. Like, A&M does not quit. Their culture is solid. Their staff is great. And this is a top 10 team. And that is more than anything Texas A&M fans have been able to say about their team since maybe that first year of Kevin Sumlin with Johnny Manziel. So that is pretty incredible, I have to say. And that team, from a talent standpoint, was way more talented than this team. And yet this team has won more games in its first 10. I know they also have played an easier schedule, but the point being, this is probably A&M's best coach team in the SEC in its history in the conference. And with how they've been recruiting, with how they are recruiting, with how Elko is as a coach, a developer, a leader of men, I am confident that moving forward, the Texas A&M Aggies are going to be a force on the national stage under Mike Elko. As for Shane Beamer in South Carolina, I am skeptical about this working out, and I would not be shocked if Beamer decides to sidestep and do a different job after this season. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.